You're watching Meet the Farmer TV.
Coming up next on Meet the Farmer TV.
Hello, I'm the mayor of Teaneck, and I'd like to welcome you to Teaneck Farmers Market, where food is the common denominator.
Welcome to the Teaneck Farmers Market. Having this market for over 15 years, 17 years, 18 years, we've brought it to the longevity of the community, always having it during the summer and making it a destination in Bergen County. And several times during my years here, we've been cited from the Jewish Standard as one of the best in Bergen County, at least twice that I know of. And that's during my reign.
This program is a production of Meet the Farmer TV, LLC, in association with Planet Earth Diversified, Melly Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design.
Farmers markets are important for the community because A, they support the farmers, and it also gives an opportunity for people to have fresh produce and fresh food. And I think that it's important for local communities to have access to fresh fruits and vegetables because it's a proven fact that people will make better food choices if they are easily accessible. I think that the Teaneck Farmers Market is also very unique in that it provides a sense of community where people are able to gather and learn about all of the local produce that we have here and all the farms that we have locally in New Jersey. I'm a social worker in addition to being the mayor of Teaneck, and I work for the Bergen County Board of Social Services where we administer the food stamp program. And in some jurisdictions, they do offer vouchers for seniors so that they have an opportunity to come out and try the fresh food. I think that it's a wonderful opportunity. I think it's an opportunity for the government to provide access for people who may not normally come out and visit a venue such as this. I think that it's something that we need to do more and that we need to encourage more so that people will learn the benefits of healthy eating and so they'll live longer, healthier lives. One of the initiatives that we've been trying to push in Teaneck is a Let's Move initiative, which is Michelle Obama's national initiative for childhood obesity. And one of the barriers that people have is the access to affordable, healthy food. So I think that in providing these incentives that it allows an opportunity for people who may not normally be able to afford it to have access to healthier food. I think unfortunately it's like a catch-22. So if you buy more expensive, healthier foods, it sustains your life. However, you have to have the resources to be able to do so. So I think that it's education. I think that we need to educate the community on the benefits of eating farm fresh, healthy food. But I also think, again, that we need to do more to find resources so that people who aren't able to afford it can have access. Because I think it's a shame to not be able to eat healthy food because you can't afford it. I think specifically for what I've experienced at this farmers market, Teaneck is a unique community, as you know, a very diverse community, and it provides a platform for groups, varying groups from different backgrounds to come together with a common goal, which is healthier lifestyle and healthier eating. And it's an initiative that I've supported since I've been on the council, and I look forward to supporting it in future. And again, I welcome anyone who would be interested in providing opportunities for students, seniors who don't have access to food to please contact me so that we can partner together and widen this spectrum. I invite you to come. We're here every Thursday from 12 to 6. It's a wonderful opportunity. You have the opportunity to get fresh produce, homemade meals, homemade pickles, homemade honey. Just come on out and see what Teaneck Farmers Market has to offer.
We only have 2 farmers, but the other participants are the gourmet vendors. And with a busy life schedule of families, they can pick up something to eat and it'll be ready for them in minutes instead of hours. and people like to. It's fun to see the pickles with the little kids, like a year and a half, 2 years, sucking on a stick with a pickle. It's like adorable. We have green juices. I thought perhaps because it's people are so health conscious and they kind of get those little veggie blenders. I saw them at another market and I said, gee, this would be nice. So they make small bottles and a little bit larger bottles of what is cold pressed juice.
I think it's great for people to support local businesses and stuff, and farmers markets are a great place to get good quality food for cheap. And I mean, yeah, you're supporting local businesses. Like, why wouldn't you want to do that? And the vendors understand. Like, we all support each other and stuff. It's great. And it's not like walking into a supermarket and seeing people you don't know. You see the same faces each week. It's good. I like it a lot. And we usually end up getting vegetables from the same farmers that are at the market, so it works out for us. Green juice, raw, healthy, real. We don't use any preservatives, no sugar, no water. It's got about 10 different vegetables in it. It's all cold pressed. So you're getting the highest nutritional value you can get. Even if you were to cook the vegetables, you're not going to get anything near that. It's about 8 salads and 1 drink. You really can't ask for more than that. And our owner knows what she's doing. She's a nutritionist. She's studied that extensively. She knows. And if you do it, you'll feel better, you'll feel great, and you'll see results. A lot of juice companies or juice people that actually make the juicers these days make these claims about, I mean, some of them you might as well just buy a blender. I mean, that's all you're getting. They try to distinguish themselves as something new, something that really, anything that's chopping or heating up with, besides really, because what cold press does is it really squeezes out all the juice and all the good stuff, almost as if you were to chew it. So it breaks down things for you so that it goes right into your system and is easily absorbed. But some of the other juicers and stuff, it's kind of a scam, and you might as well use a blender. But it's still healthy. I mean, you're getting your vegetables, you're getting your greens. I mean, any juicing is still good in my book. So we do have a website. It's mogreenjuice.com. We have plenty of information on there. We also have a Facebook page. Feel free to like us. And yeah, you'll really see how our owner, well, my owner, she's really on a mission to spread the whole juicing trend.
Oh, and then we have NewJerseyBees.com, and the owner, Danny Center, is a beekeeper, and he has hives in this area, and I think upstate New York. And he I don't know what the expression is. I guess he gathers the honey. Has been making products for about 2 years.
My name is Raymond R. Ahrens. I live in Teaneck, New Jersey, and I am a new training bee rescuer, and I'm happy to be here on Meet the Farmer TV.
I'm a beekeeper in Bergen County, Woodridge, New York, and also Eldred, New York. And one of the amazing things that I found, I'm beekeeping for a couple of years now, one of the amazing things I found is there's a huge population of feral hives. What feral means are honeybees are not indigenous to Teaneck. They're not indigenous to New Jersey for that matter. They're not even indigenous to the entire United States. They're actually originally from Europe. They were brought here, and some of the bees that were brought here escaped into the wild. That's called a feral beehive. That's a hive that exists on its own. And while in the United States and in other countries as well, we're suffering from terrible colony collapse disorder, where bees are dying in record numbers, I found that the feral population in Bergen County was uniquely strong. So what we've been working on over the past few years is capturing some of those feral hives. We get called by people, they're in their homes, they're in a tree in their house, and we take that hive and we hive that ourselves back and bring back that genetics which has been surviving on its own for all these years, and hopefully that will help us address the concern of colony collapse disorder and the terrible blight we're having with our honeybees. So colony collapse disorder is somewhat of a mystery. They're not certain. There are a number of factors. The most probable one is the use of insecticides. The bees very often will forage and they'll think they're collecting pollen, and in fact they're collecting a dust pesticide. They bring that back to the colony, and that could, as it says, collapse the entire colony. They'll feed that to their developing brood, and that will result in the death of the entire colony. There are other problems that we have. There are some pests. There's a varroa mite. There's a small hive beetle. There's a hive moth. And all of those pests have also contributed to colony collapse disorder. And it's just in general the awareness and people getting involved and taking and recognizing the serious danger to not only our honey and our bees, but to the general foods, to our general food supply, because bees dramatically affect the amount of food that we'll have available, because without their ability to pollinate, and they are by far the best pollinators, honeybees, without their assistance we would have far less produce. There are some things that would completely disappear. Honeybees are, as I had mentioned, are wonderful, wonderful pollinators. And the other thing unique about a honeybee, many bees, there are a lot of bees that are good pollinators. For example, bumblebees, which are indigenous to the United States, are wonderful pollinators. The problem is a bumblebee hive, a large hive, will be a few hundred bees. Honeybees, a large hive is 80,000 bees. So just by simple numbers, if honeybees are wonderful, wonderful pollinators. So what that means is, for the average farmer, if I'm growing, let's say, apples, and apples are not solely pollinated by insects, but primarily pollinated by insects. So if I have apple trees and I don't have those honeybees, I'm not going to have the insects visiting flower to flower, from flower to flower, and thereby pollinating all the flowers. So my only choice, if I really have a shortage of bees, is one, ship in bees from other places, which is what California does for their almond crops. And their almond crops have become totally dependent on bringing in, they ship in thousands upon thousands of hives on a yearly basis. But that, or the other option, which China has done in some cases, is they actually get human beings to go in and actually take the place, work with little paintbrushes, climb up on the trees. And the reason why they do that is the bees can't survive. It's become a toxic environment for the bees. And that's an indication they're more sensitive than we are. But if there are toxins that are killing our bees, they will eventually and ultimately kill us. I think, to begin with, one of the most important things that people should realize is not everything that buzzes is a bee. Our honeybees have, and many of our bees, have gotten a bad rap from wasps and hornets and other stinging insects. Honeybees, and this is very, very important for people to understand, honeybees are really not a nuisance. Unless you approach the hive, they generally will leave you alone. If you're working in your flower bed and there are honeybees there, they're going to move out of your way. So the one very important thing for people to understand, whether you live in a farm area or you live in a big city, if there are honeybees around, they're only there for our benefit and in no way will negatively impact your life. The easiest way to tell the difference between a honeybee and a wasp or hornets is wasps and hornets are smooth. Their exterior is smooth. Honeybees actually have a hairy exterior, which looks almost like fur. That's actually to store the pollen, to collect the pollen, which they then store on their hind legs. But just as a quick glance, a wasp or hornet is shiny and bright in color. A honeybee is a more dull in appearance. Often I am called, and we certainly don't mind this, beekeepers are called either on the telephone. Today they can send us pictures and videos where they'll say, I've got a hive, it's in the tree near my house, it's on my siding. Is this honeybees? Is it not honeybees? And we often and very easily can distinguish and determine whether it's honeybees that they have or another type of pest that could be negatively affecting them. So as I had mentioned, the bees that we keep are what I would describe as Bergen County bees. Majority of the queens, and the genetics of the hive is totally determined by the queen, because if I would replace a queen in a hive, in 6 weeks all the bees in that hive would be her offspring. So the queens in our hive are all feral queens that have been taken from the wild. But my assumption, based on the historical information that I can get, the beekeepers that kept bees here 150, 200 years ago, they had started with Italian honeybees. Now, what does that mean? What does it mean, Italian honeybees? It's not that they have a passport from Italy. What Italian honeybees, that was a strain of bees. There are bees that are from, there were Russian honeybees. There were, everybody's heard of the infamous Africanized honeybee, which is just an aggressive honeybee and not one which serves good purpose in collecting honey and working with beekeepers to collect honey. They're not aggressive that they're going to kill anybody. But the bees that we keep most of them are descendants of Italian bees that were brought here from Italy. They had noticed when they were collecting bees that these bees were particularly gentle. They were easy to work with. They kept large stores. They cut down their total population during the winter, which made them easier to manage. They wintered very well in the cold weather. They wintered very well. And the difference now between our bees and what you'd call, I guess, regular honeybees that very often people buy from Georgia, they get them from Georgia, they could get them from California. And those bees are Italians that have been bred in Georgia or somewhere else. Our bees are bees that had escaped into the wild probably about 100 years ago and have bred one bee with the other in a wild environment, and through just genetic selection, natural genetic selection, the strongest of those bees have survived. Question one might ask is, what difference does that make to my honey? I've never seen on a honey label, these were produced by honeybees from Italy or honeybees from Russia or from Africa for that matter. And the answer is it would make zero difference. The bees, regardless of what variety of honeybees that you have, the type of honey they produce is more a response to the flora that they collected, the nectar that they collected, but the honey itself will be the same. The difference is to the survival of the colony and the honeybee health as a whole. And now I would like to introduce you to somebody very special, and I'd like to have Ray join me. Many people ask, could I be a honey beekeeper? Could I be a beekeeper? Is it something that I could do? And that's another important thing. You're beekeepers. We're not really bee farmers. Even though this is Farmer TV, we're not true farmers, because all you could do as a beekeeper is keep the bees, because the bees sort of do their own thing. But very often people ask me, I live in a small house, I don't have that much room, can I be a beekeeper? Am I too old? Does it take up too much time? Well, Ray is one of my students. I don't have that many, I've got a couple of them. But Ray's a great example. He jumped right in. He's a couple of years older than me. He's been an absolutely fantastic student. He's worked very hard at the craft. This year he has one hive. I believe in the future he'll add to that. He's been with me on many rescues. He's excellent at what he does. His bees are doing fantastic, and I'm looking forward to working with him many years. He's a fantastic asset to the craft.
Let me first make it clear. I am in training. I am not a full-fledged beekeeping rescuer. I'm being mentored by Daniel Center, who is the beekeeping person of NewJerseyBees.com. He has been making rescues for years in Teaneck. He's got at least 7 years under his belt in beekeeping. I have only 6 months. I bought my bees in April, and now I started out with 6,000 bees. I picked them up in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and I drove them home like they were eggs. I love them so much. They're all females mostly. There's a few drones, but 99% are females, and they're predominantly what's called immature females. They've never been mated at all. They spend their time in that box. It's about a square box. They are also, the queen is at the bottom in a little cage, and they love her. They smell her pheromone. Each bee has a specific pheromone that essentially describes what its job will be when it gets into the hive. There's 12 particular jobs, including sweepers, cleaners of the hive, making sure that the hexagon is properly hexed, because she will not lay in a hexagon that has not been formed properly. They also are nurses, morticians, and they work in the dark. In the dark. Now, can you imagine? They work in the dark. Now, these bees last approximately 3 weeks. That's their lifespan. That's the female bee. The drones last about 6 weeks. The queen can go to 2 years. The queen on an average day will lay 1,000 eggs per day. So when I started out with my 6,000 bees in my hive, which we put in from Wilkes-Barre, and Daniel Center, my mentor, helped me put them into the hive by opening the frame, and then we dropped them in, dropped the queen in. Currently, at this moment, we are now into the month of August. I think, from my best estimate, I have 50,000 bees. I will not be able to get my honey this year because you give it to the bees and let them, they will produce 200 pounds of honey in their boxes that look very much like this. Each one of these boxes produces 200 pounds of honey. This is usually used to keep them, to feed the bees. And you put sugar water, 1-to-1 ratio. I usually put 25 pounds of sugar and 25 pounds of water into the honey, into the mixture, and I mix it up like a brew. And then I put it into quart containers that look very much like a one of those bell jars, and turn it upside down, and they automatically expend their whole, they go up there, they work 22 hours a day, they get 2 hours off, they go up to the penthouse, and they have a little bit of a eat, they drink a little bit. Honey that, sweet sugar honey, sweet sugar that they didn't have to go and hustle for. Now, with regard to bee rescues are very important. Number one, when a bee swarms, a whole colony leaves. It's a big, 50,000 will get out of somewhere because they've got no more room. They're not leaving on purpose. Their home is either being bothered, but they leave and they go. Danny gets a call from the police department in Teaneck because they call the Teaneck Police Department. The police department called Danny. Danny calls me, and I come along to help out. That's what I'm learning how to do. And we had 3 rescues this month. One was at the police department, where they themselves found that a whole swarm, 50,000 bees, had moved into one of their lights in their cruisers. So we use ways of which you basically vacuum them out. Then you put a pail like this, you vacuum them out. You have 2 pails, one is the vacuum and one sucks them into there. Then you put the top on and you put a screen over it and push it down, and it's completely sealed. Now the bees are in there, maybe 30, if the 50,000, 10,000 bees are in there. Now, we then take those and put that on top of the cruiser. And guess what? If we got the queen in there, which is typical, we'll end up having all the bees moving from the location that they were in and jump on top of this thing because they want to be with their buddies, their girlfriends, the queen. We then take these and put them in what's called a hive after we get all of them out. And we usually get we need three buckets full, and put them in a hive, and then bring them back to our own hives. So we have a new hive, and they have a new home with a lot of room, a lot of space, and they're very happy.
Bee rescue.
It's a bee rescue. And we took them from a police department light to a apiary, which is called a bunch of hives.
That's Angela Logan's assistant. Angela Logan has reinvented her life, and she and her partner Melvin George had a financial crisis about 5 years ago with not making their mortgage. Their contractor walked out on them for some reason. And so she developed making these cakes and cupcakes to save her house. And recently, last year, in the wintertime, a biopic television program was created, her story. So she's a really hard-working woman with a lot of beauty, a lot of intelligence. It's Angela Logan's Mortgage Apple Cakes.
I was an only child. My mother didn't cook, okay? But I had the run of the kitchen. My mother was like, cook whatever you want to cook. I don't care if you burn it. I don't care what you do with it. And at 10 years old, by the time I was 14, I was able to cook a full dinner for my family. I did Thanksgiving dinner. My grandmother was a top chef. My grandfather was a chef on the Pennsylvania Railroad in the 1940s. He actually cooked for Winston Churchill, okay, overseas. My grandmother was a chef for wealthy families down on Park Avenue. And I, by the time I was 14, was an experienced cook. And what it did as an only child, it extended my family. I made friends with food, okay? And I've also been able to get employment. I am a private caterer, okay? I've worked out in the Hamptons with very wealthy people, had a job at Bloomingdale's for 9.5 years as a culinary director. So I was able to take food and go with it and make money from it. And to this day, I'm here with Angela now, still working and making money with food. So for those of you who, if you haven't gone to college or if you have, but everyone likes to eat. There are 3 necessities in life, and that's food, clothing, and shelter. First one is food, okay? I recommend that if you have any passion for food, and you're looking for a business, there are always opportunities in food. You can actually, restaurants close every 6 months. You can get cheap equipment, you can take your labor and put it to use, and you can start a business. So I say jump in the pool, okay? If there's something you like, certainly you could give Angela a call. Angela would be willing to share what she went through. She's a school teacher, but she took a passion for food and it saved her home. So there's limitless, endless, there are no boundaries. If you got a cake, if you got a sauce, if you have some special technique that you'd like to share, and that's the thing about food too, you need to share. I don't believe in taking my gifts to the grave, so I share my recipes because I want someone else. I can't feed everybody, but if we're able to share our recipes and someone can make money with these recipes like Angela did, then it's about taking it to the next level. And I wish, Melvin, come on over here. Earlier, I mentioned to you about the movie, right? And I was telling you how successful Angela, the help that she got. And this is Melvin, who actually came on board, helped Angela. And as I told you, if you see the movie, she's now engaged to Melvin. Okay, so not only did we save a home, but we found love. So, I mean, Angela took it to the next level. Melvin is so supportive. As you see, he's here now to help us break down. Angela's off baking cakes and doing some things, but they work very well together as a team. And need I say more?
Well, there you have it, another episode of Meet the Farmer TV. This program is a production of Meet the Farmer TV, LLC, in association with Planet Earth Diversified, Nelly Productions, and Leslie B. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design.